Today I want to talk about Cincy and Jaelen Phillips, Miami, UAB, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on step milk. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about Jaelen Phillips, Miami, UAB, Luke Fickell, Cincinnati. And I want to start with Luke Fickell and Cincinnati. I read this really good story in Yahoo Sports by Pete Thamel, in which I get an understanding of why people so love Luke Fickell. It was really difficult for me to put my finger on, even though I'm partial to Luke Fickell. And I think I was always partial to Luke Fickell because Marcus Freeman is this defensive coordinator, and I believe that Marcus Freeman is the best up-and-coming defensive coordinator in all of college football. I have all the stock in Marcus Freeman that there possibly is to buy. I think that he's going to be that great. Number one, because that's what Cincinnati's defense is. It has been great with a bunch of dudes that quite literally people outside of Ohio don't know. And all they did was make the American Championship game. And they're a threat to get back there once again in this wild year, in large part because they do the one thing that every team has to be able to do to win football games, and the one thing that travels and the one thing that stays the same despite all the other parts moving around you. Defense is good. Their defense is stout. Their defense forces you into third and long situations, and they like running man. They like getting in your chest, and they love to tackle. The most notable dude to probably ever come out of Cincinnati, Travis Kelce, right, who was a two-star recruit that turned into one of the best, if not the best tight end in all of the NFL. But I'm fully following Cincy when Luke Fickell got the job, and seeing what he has done there has been remarkable. But it started with, and I love this, protect your home turf. And I don't just mean like on a football field. I don't just mean in Cincinnati. I mean, there was a satellite camp that was being held by Iowa State coaches in Cincinnati at a small college there. Luke Fickell had a kid who was of age to be going to such camps. So Luke Fickell, using his kid Landon as cover, paid the $25 entrance fee and brought with him 4 Bearcat players to stand on the sideline in their Bearcat gear at this Iowa State satellite camp. The message was, you're not going to just be able to come into Cincinnati and walk out with our players anymore. Because at the time, there were like 4 Cincinnati natives that were playing Iowa State football. Among them, Chicago Bears running back David Montgomery might be the best running back to ever come through Iowa State from a pure running back standpoint. And I'm always going to be partial to an Eagle Scout because I'm an Eagle Scout. But Luke Fickell put down a marker. And Luke Fickell, who learned how to recruit from Urban Meyer, has decided that he is going to try to get the best possible recruits that he can. And he's going to try to build around defense and then see if he can't put together an offense that can exist on ball control and play low-scoring games. And I love that. And if I didn't know anything else about Luke Fickell, in this age where so many coaches have sons that play quarterback, Luke Fickell's kid, Landon, is a 6'5", 275-pound offensive line commit to Cincy. The man is hard-nosed. The man loves to rub your face in the dirt. And I'm going to be watching way more Bearcats football because it's pandemic, but also because I have some real pride here to look into the eyes of Luke Fickell and see an offensive line recruit as his kid, see Marcus Freeman on the sideline, and really the only name brand program in the state of Ohio that gets to play football this fall. I'm going to be watching a lot of Cincy football. I'm already watching a lot of Memphis. I'm already watching a lot of Arkansas State. They're going to be on twice on national television in 2 weeks. And I think that the American is deep. I think from Central Florida to Southern Methodist to whatever Houston turns out to be, to Tulane, you have good football being played in the American, and they are a threat to ascend, to make the Power 5 a Power 6, provided we still have a Power 5 to talk about in a couple of years. I'm not sure if that's going to be true or not, especially with the Big Ten trying to tear itself apart. Really kind of split down the middle. You got 8 on one side, 6 on the other. I wanted to talk a little bit about Jaelen Phillips as well, because Jaelen Phillips was the number 1 overall recruit in the 2017 class, according to Top 247 Sports Composite. And when he picked UCLA over Stanford, many of us were excited about that. Number one, Roy Manning, who is the cornerbacks coach at Oklahoma, was the linebackers coach or outside linebackers coach at UCLA when Jaelen Phillips came through. Chip Kelly came through, and then you've seen about 40 kids choose to transfer since Chip Kelly took over the reins. Now Jaelen Phillips is at Miami. And Miami feels like a Troy South to me, because Jaelen Phillips is going to be on one side of the defensive line, and Quincy Roach is going to be on the other side of the defensive line. Folks in the American know that Quincy Roach was the Defensive Player of the Year out of Temple with, I think, 15 sacks, man. This dude was a TFL freak. And with we thought was going to be Greg Rousseau over there, it's going to be one of the better edge tandems in all of football. And then you get Jaelen Phillips. Add to that, Bubba Bolden is now, like Jaelen Phillips, eligible to play football. This was a USC commit and a dude that was really close with Tate Martell and has tremendous talent at the safety position. Then, of course, you got De'Aaron King, who in 2018 passed for 3,000, rushed for 1,000, and really put Houston back to where we thought they should be. And as far as the conversation around great football being played, De'Aaron King hearkening back to the days of Andre Ware with his performance. Andre Ware won a Heisman without being on national television. Good grief, man. So now we got De'Aaron King at Miami with Manny Diaz in a year in which he's got to prove it, because they go into a bowl game named after a local bar and lose to a team from Ruston and what is called the Walk-On Independence Bowl. Just a bad look. But they also had a very, very young offensive line that they returned most of. They got some hitters at wide receiver, some hitters at tailback. Jalen Knighton ends up at Miami after first committing to Oklahoma. Then it looked like Florida State. He ends up at Miami. He ought to get some run tonight against UAB. And the Hurricanes are about a 15.5-point favorite, 14.5-point favorite, depending on which line you want to trust. And there are folks that believe that UAB gets to cover the spread. I don't see that, because this Miami offense is too talented. The defense is too talented. And then throw Rhett Lashley and his scheme and what he was able to do at SMU into what he might be capable of doing with a guy that can move in the way that De'Aaron King can move. Not throwing any shade at Shane Buechele, but you ain't De'Aaron King. I'm excited to see how much of the offense is pushing the ball down the field and how much of the offense is De'Aaron King just making it happen behind an offensive line that now has a full season underneath its belt. In a year in which there are some folks that believe that Miami is a dark horse to come out of the ACC and maybe even make the playoff. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit went that far on College Game Day on Saturday last week. So I'm interested to see what they can put in front of a UAB team that's pretty good, right? Plumbing out of Conference USA. They beat up on a Central Arkansas team that's an FCS squad. And they look decent, but they weren't good when we're talking about yards per carry, yards per attempt. It feels like Miami could run away with this in a very big way. So I'm going to be paying attention. I hope that you are as well. We'll talk about it. All right, that's it for me. Deuces. Actually, not deuces. I have one more thing that I want to add. I was able to score an interview with quarterbacks coach Quincy Avery. That is the Saturday podcast. I've told you guys I'm working very hard to make the Saturday podcast one that is worthwhile as much as I possibly can on the RJ Young Show podcast, where you can download it. If you have Apple Podcasts or you have an app that allows you to leave a review, please leave a 5-star review. If it's a nice review, I will read it on the live shows, for which we do Mondays and Wednesdays. And, of course, those podcasts go up on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. All right, now deuces.